Hello and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo signs 2017 budget. Dino Melaye in fresh trouble as constituents begin process to recall him from the Senate. And finally on the program, Senate President says there are 10.5 million out-of-school children in Nigeria. It describes it as a time bomb. It will be hanging. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Festus Erie, and Wahid Bakari. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Last December, President Muhammadu Buhari presented the 2017 appropriation bill to the joint session of the National Assembly amidst fanfare. It was tagged the budget of recovery and growth. Nigerians were told that the budget will catapult the economy out of recession and land it into prosperity. Millions of Nigerians who were sinking into desperate poverty were excited. They were glad that the budget will assuage their pains. But for the first 2 quarters of the year, the government could not get its financial plans approved. For the first time since 2008, Nigeria's budget was signed in June, 6 months into 12-month fiscal year. In 4 months from now, the 2018 budget will be represented to the National Assembly again. This contradicts the suggestion of experts who says for the economy to bounce out of recession, the 2017 budget must be signed earlier in the year and 80% of it must be implemented. Do Nigerians have any reason to be excited about the 7.44 trillion budgets? Will this delay not affect the federal government growth and recovery plan for the year 2017? What is really going on? Babajide, there's this analysis. We started from 1999. We've never had it so bad, as in so bad in terms of signing appropriation for a fiscal year, the middle of that fiscal year, June. President Buhari went to the joint session, the joint session of the National Assembly on the 21st of December last year. So with a view that, okay, all things being equal, first quarter, that budget will be signed. Yesterday, June the 12th, 2017, we are just signing the 2017 budget.
The President's intention was clear. He wanted this whole thing done with dispatch. That was why we went early to the National Assembly. He wanted just the same thing that happened last year. He wanted to set a record, you know, going by Nigerian standard. He wanted to set a record. He presented the budget early. But at the end of the day, he got eggs on his face, because the budget was so hurriedly put together. There were so many errors, allegations of padding here and there, you know. So the whole intention, the laudable goal of trying to present the budget early was not achieved at the end of the day, because this back and forth and exchange of brickbats between the executive and the legislature over the content of the budget itself, and the fact that there were so many ridiculous entries into the budget, so many double entries, triple entries and all that, designed to steal. So that kind of embarrassed the president. And then the president said, okay, this time around, we'll work harder, but we'll still try our best to present this budget early so that work can start quickly. And then we can tell ourselves that, oh, the budget will be better implemented than previous years, because we have a history of a 50% rate of implementation of our budget, you know. Because usually even funds don't get released until the last quarter of the year. That is even when you release the budget on time. Yes.
You release it May, March.
So in this case, with the budget coming this late, your guess is as good as mine. I am particularly worried about even the funding for the budget, because we can all see clearly that projected revenue is around 5 trillion. Well, the size of the budget is over 7.4. In the real sense, this budget is higher than 7.4, because with the, you know, the acting president was complaining about the fact that the National Assembly boosted the figures,
yes,
by 143 billion. Now, having done that, they've had to take some monies previously allocated to some important projects that the executive came up with. Now, that was a major cause for disagreement. And before the acting president agreed to sign, it was resolved that through environment, allowance will be made for those projects still, because those projects are important to the executive. So what it means is that the size of this budget is going to be a lot higher than the 7.74, when you bear in mind that those projects will be brought back, you know, later on. They are going to bring back those projects and along with the plan of the executive. So we will be looking at a budget a lot higher than this 7.74, which still takes me back to my fear of the funding of this budget. If we projected that more than 2 trillion of this budget will be financed through borrowing, a situation that we can seek now is that this budget will be higher than 7.74 when those projects that the executive talked about are brought back in. So it means that what you now need, what you need to finance this budget will be more than, the borrowing that you will have to undertake to finance this budget will be a lot higher than the 2.08 trillion that you talked about later. So it's a real cause for worry.
Somebody asked me yesterday that maybe the budget that was signed yesterday is for 2017-2018 fiscal year. That it can't be 2017 alone. That the budget will be for.
It is. There is no doubt about it. Except that this is not what Nigerians, expect from a government that came with high hope and expectation. The problem is that when you don't sign budget on time, you keep people in perpetual fear. There will be tension, uncertainty, because people want to know. People want to know what is the content of the budget, because they also want to factor in their plans in the whole thing. You understand? A lot of companies will say, okay, let's see what government wants to do in terms of importation and other things like that. But because of the fact that you have delayed, they will know what to do at the exact time, So it's quite unfortunate. But what I understand is that, I'm not too sure whether there will be increments in the budget, as DJ said. Because my own understanding is that, money will be taken from the, what really caused this argument was the fact that the executive, they reduce some of the capital expenditure of the federal government, which they want to use to finance their own personal projects. But based on the agreement now, I think what they have agreed to do now is that, we are going to revert to the original amount that the federal government allocated for some of its important capital projects. So they will take from the one that they have allocated to themselves, they will take money from it and use it to finance. It's like you are now using surplus money to finance deficit. I think that's what they want to do. I'm not too sure whether the budget will increase.
No, it will increase. I heard that clearly yesterday. They said that was why I said that it was after that commitment was made by the National Assembly leadership that he agreed to sign. He explained why he delayed, and that delay was because those projects, including the Mambila Hydro project, were very clear. The Lagos Ibadan Expressway, that they were very important to the executive, and that it was agreed that by environment they will be able to bring, bring funding for those projects. It was on that, based on that commitment, that I went ahead and signed. Maybe by now they will have still been arguing.
Festus,
yes.
Now, when you want to look at the track record, budget implementation in the last, let's say, 10 years, when you look at the statistics, it has not been encouraging at all because of impediments like this, because of the time the number one, funding, number two, running a deficit budget. Last year, something like this happened. And I don't know the percentage of the implementation of last year's budget, but I understand that there's a leeway that the president has this kind of power. Maybe in the first quarter of the following year, the president can still make some spending.
Yes, I think the Constitution makes provision for you to spend on recurrent expenditure. I think what is really affected is the capital expenditure. But I think that maybe what Nigerians should be worried about is the process. Because as you rightly pointed out, this budget was submitted in December last year. And it didn't get signed until just a few days ago, or just yesterday.
By this time yesterday.
Yeah, so it took 6 months for the president's signature to get on the document. So perhaps it is time for us to begin to think about maybe rolling back the time, because it simply means that for about 4 or 5 months it was stuck in the National Assembly. It was stuck there. So perhaps we should be thinking about turning in the budget. If it takes the National Assembly on the average 4 months to work on the budget, maybe the budget should be, for the new year, should be coming in September.
Because for 2018, I think
yes,
October.
I don't even think October is good enough, because if we've learned anything from the last 2 years, it's either going to turn it in late August or early September for it to be available for signature, maybe in January. Now, I think that for this government, what has just happened is, I can't think of any other word other than to say it's a disaster. For if a country, an economy that is in recession, the only way you're going to get it out is through spending. And if you have budgeted so much to be spent, what is the window that you have left? You have what you have between now and November.
And Jide also spoke about the process of even getting out these expenses, implementing this budget.
Yes,
the money is getting to the ministries.
The process of even getting the money out is very, very cumbersome. It's not like you just write a check and you go across the counter and you get your cash. It might take you about 6 weeks, 8 weeks to get
even more than that.
Exactly. So you are talking about a very, very small window for the spending that at the end of the day you might even get, we might hit some kind of unwanted record this year for low budget implementation. And I think that the government really needs to think about when they want to turn in the budget for the next year. But this year, I don't see how this is going to work.
We've lost this.
Jide, okay, let's look at the cup half full now. What are those attractive things that you think it's a welcome development in this 2017 budget? The first thing I spotted was that recurrent expenditure, the capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure were almost at par. As in, it's not the way it used to be, that you have 70%, 80% for recurrent expenditure, and capital expenditure will be like 30%.
I'm not usually thrown off balance by those figures. I'm not usually serenaded. Everything is in the implementation. Everything is in the implementation. We've always had great budgets. Budget speeches are usually pleasing to hear.
Some bites.
But at the end of the day, what is the level of implementation? Things will appear rosy unto you, but the devil is in the implementation itself. So I think that if we show greater discipline, we will be able to come up with budgets that will address the problems that we are facing as a nation. I'm particularly worried about the level of inflation. I want to see what government is doing to bring us back to single-digit inflation. There is no country that can actually achieve real economic growth without coming down to single-digit inflation. Because how can people spend How can people actually spend? And how can GDP grow when you and I have very little expendable funds? We have very little. Inflation ensures that we are looking at so many things that we feel that we should buy, but we lack the funds to buy those things. You know, that is really even the definition of recession. That's why we are in this recession, because recession ensures that we are unable to spend as much as we want to spend, either as a nation or as a people. So how do we even through this budget try our best to get our people out of the unfortunate situation that they found themselves? I look at the power sector for the power works and housing. So much money, more than 500 billion. Fashola expects to make many Nigerians happy, not just by the projects that are going to be executed, but in the fact that construction people, there will be so many construction sites all over the place, and then people will be paid, you know, many people will be engaged and all that. But it is not enough. It is not enough. We must ask ourselves, how are we going to, for manufacturers, for example, manufacturers of drugs, manufacturers of all kinds of things, how do we ensure that they get access to foreign exchange that will keep the economy running? Because the government cannot do it alone. The government must create the enabling environment for private concerns to thrive. Because how many people can government employ? We have a federal government with a monthly wage bill of 165 billion. But how many Nigerians are actually in the employment of the federal government? So it's the private sector that will actually drive the process. There's a private sector that is the engine of economic growth. So government must come up with policies that will ensure that the private sector gets a lift, so to say, if I can use that word metaphorically, gets a lift, and then it percolates, it affects every one of us. So that is the thing. And then when you look at even education, every year we think that we should not vote enough for education. I'm actually not impressed with the situation this year. You look at even solid minerals, you will find that solid minerals has also, we said, look, we have to diversify. Yes, but we have actually not voted enough to, for that ministry. So it's just, this budget is so similar to that of last year. In fact, if you read the breakdown of the 2016 budget, it's extremely similar to what we have this year. We need to be much more creative in trying to solve problems through the yearly budgets that we turn out.
Waheed, what are the bright sides that you can point out?
Well, like Jide rightly said, you know, it is one thing for us to have it the way it is. It is another thing for them to implement it the way we expect them to implement it. I want to appreciate the fact that, you know, for the first time in recent time, you know, you have a situation whereby current expedition and capital expedition, they are almost at par, which is a complete departure from what we have had in the past. A situation whereby between 70 and 80% of the budget, you know, we used to pay salary, overhead cost, and personal cost. As a result of which, less than 10% of the population will be the one that will gain from the budget. Whereby we now have a situation whereby the majority of the people are left in the dark. You know, but the question is, are they going to really implement it the way it is? Because it has been said times with that number that, you know, no nation can develop as long as you continue to use the larger chunk of your budget to pay salary, to do overhead cost and all sorts of things. So I hope this time around there will be change, except that for the fact that, you know, we have lost so many months, we have just 6 months left. What can they do within the next 6 months?
I know that invariably we will still take loans to pay salaries. We are already doing that.
that would be disaster.
Festus, what are those, in terms of the ambitious projects that you can lay your hands on in 2017?
Well, obviously the rail projects, the power projects, and the road projects, because I believe that the template that has been established in many countries for people who want to get out of the recession, that you invest a lot in public works. And like Jide was pointing out, that if you look at the budget of the works, housing ministry, power and everything, they have about 500 billion to spend. So I think that that's encouraging.
Mr. Fashola has his hands full.
Yeah, I mean it's what's done everywhere. Whether it's in America, when they're going to just invest heavily in public works. Obama did the same thing when he first came in. He spent a lot of money in public works. So if only that kind of money can get pumped into the economy, it will make a difference. It will make a difference. And I think that those are the unfortunate, again I say, the window that they have, the very narrow window for achieving what they want to achieve this year. And before you know it, by the time you get into next year, they will begin to get distracted by politics and so on. So.
I have my first caller. Dari is calling us from Kaduna. Thank you for joining us, Dari.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Dari.
Yes. So much about this budget of a thing.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening.
Go ahead, Dari.
Yes. So much about this budget of a thing.
Okay.
For how long shall this nation get this issue of budgeting right? For how long? Does it take a rocket science to get the budgeting of this nation right? And how will 7.4 trillion naira impact the life of the citizens of this country, especially the workforce? Just like Babajit said. How many do we have on the street? And how many do we have in the private sector? It should be useful. I wonder, with the economic experts we have in this nation, if finding it difficult to get our budgeting right, I mean, it's pathetic. It's rather unfortunate. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you. No, thank you, Dari. You know this, when you look at, we've talked about education. I don't know. Do we have enough for health?
Certainly not. I think that if you look at the state of our health sector, definitely we should be doing better. The message that our president seeking medical attention abroad sends across to people, not just in Nigeria but outside of Nigeria, is that the health sector here is just not good enough. But it doesn't even entirely tell the story. Nigerians leave our country to go and get medical attention in Cameroon.
Cameroon.
Yes. Nigerians, especially in Adamawa State, they go. In fact, no Ribadu who told me this, that his own relations, that they travel to Cameroon for medical attention, and that he was so ashamed as a Nigerian. So is that bad for us? Is that bad for us? Many people would rather, you go to a Nigerian hospital, you are even misdiagnosed. Remember how we lost Ganifa Wemi. Ganifa Wemi was diagnosed as having been afflicted by pneumonia, whereas he actually had cancer. By the time they discovered that it was actually cancer, it had spread. And he was being treated in easily one of the best 3 hospitals in Lagos. So if that could happen in what was supposed to be a fantastic hospital, that should tell you that it's a metaphor for what is going on across the country. So we should actually be investing more in our health sector so that people don't just, when people are taken to hospitals in Nigeria, they don't give up that, oh, well, whatever happens, I know that that's what God wants. Our health centers should be good enough. The money that we spend on medical tourism, if we put our health sector in good condition, we won't be spending all that money. We go to Egypt, we go to different places. Remember Lamido's son that was arrested with those dollars. He was heading to Egypt to treat his child. It was Egypt that he was going to, a fellow African country. We think that we are the giant of Africa, but if we are going to even fellow African countries for medical assistance, that should tell you that our health sector is in shambles, and we need to spend so much on not just the infrastructure, but the equipment that we need to put in these hospitals.
When we return, Dino Melaye's constituents begin a process to recall him from the Senate. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Television Continental journalist Hangout. We're reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. Moving on now, there is an ongoing process by the people of Kogi West Senatorial District to recall Senator Dino Melaye from the Red Chamber. After months and months of constituting what critics call nuisance in the upper legislative chamber, constituents of the Ajekunya Krona have opened a register containing signatures to strip him of his position. On Saturday, Senator Dino Melaye posted on his Facebook page that Governor Yahaya Bello, his former ally, was behind his travail. He accused the governor of spending 1 billion naira to ensure that he is removed. When will Senator Dino Melaye be in the news for the right reasons? Gentlemen, it got bloody yesterday. It got bloody yesterday, and from what, let's just, we have a video. Let's just go through this video, and when we come back.
Democracy is about the people. I, Dino Melaye, I will continue to speak for the people. I will not allow Yahaya Bello to destroy Kogi State. When we were fighting for this party, we did not see or know Yahaya Bello. When we were fighting for this party, we did not see Edward Onoja. When we brought this victory to Kogi State, we did not see Smart Adeyemi. In fact, all of them worked against us. And today, they are punishing us. They are not paying salary. They are stealing our money. But I assure you, they will vomit every cobble stolen. They are busy collecting data, signing fake signatures, saying they want to recall the best senator 2016 Federal Republic of Nigeria. They want to recall the senator with the highest number of motions and bills. They are doing this to shut me up. I will not shut up. Whether Yahaya Bello wants it or not, he will pay pensioners, he will pay outstanding salaries in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Ole Dino! 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 Ole Dino!
We apologize for that video. Certainly, Kogi seems to be a kind of in a situation, and I would not say they are too fortunate. While they are battling an inept administration in the states, the people representing you guys at the National Assembly, Jide, is so unfortunate that this process, I remember telling you the day before yesterday, saying that, oh, this is unprecedented, and you were correcting me that it happened to Senator Mantu. You want to tell us about this process? Mantu. Yeah.
Well, you see, I'm against this idea of trying to record, I'm against it because it will fail. Dino should be allowed to finish his 4 years, because after 4 years, he will be served, he will be taught an exemplary lesson. The people of Kogi have disgraced Dino in the past. They disgraced him in 2011. A little-known politician defeated him after his shameful conduct in the ETA-led
House of
Reps. They disgraced him. They made sure he didn't win. This last election, he won because he rode on the back of people like Tinubu, people like Buhari,
this influence,
Honorable Jibrin, because that is the man who controls the Lokoja Kogi, policies of Lokoja Kogi axis. In all the Yoruba-speaking part of Kogi State, and I've said it before on this program, Dino Melaye did not win in any town, because our people have never liked him. You cannot be excited when you can see clearly there's a thug that is representing you. You can't be excited about that. So they rejected him roundly, including his hometown. But he won the election in 2 urban centers, Kotonkarufi and Lokoja, with superior numerical strength to the remaining part of Kogi West, and he became senator. Today, when you mention Dino Melaye to anybody from that constituency, you make their blood boil, because he represents shame. He represents shame not just to Kogi West, but to the whole of Kogi State. And some of the people who encouraged him to get to this position, I'm sure today that they are regretting. And in politics, people like to serve the meal of vengeance and serve it cold. So the meal of vengeance will be served to Dino Melaye in 2019 if he ventures to contest, and it will be served extremely cold to him. So the unfortunate thing is, Yaya Bello is also an intensely hated figure in that state. So what Dino did was, when he saw what happened on Saturday, because even in his own village, large crowds came out to sign
and submit their photocopied
and get Dino out of that place. Why? He has never been popular. You know, I said on this program that he has chieftaincy titles all over the place, but in his hometown he doesn't have one. So his people do not like him. The traditional ruler of his town does not like him. So people came out to reject their own son in his hometown. But when Dino saw clearly that, he was losing the battle in inverted commas, he rushed down, got DSS to give him plenty of security men, because he was saying they were going to kill him. And then he went there and said, see, Yaya Bello wants to remove me because I've been complaining that he's not paying your salary. To whip up sentiments and all that. And then there was a clash between supporters of another hated figure, Yaya Bello, and Dino, which led to the shooting of one guy. I think only one person died. The media has been lying that, so many people, 5 people died. No. It's just one person that died, another person is injured. I do not think that anything concrete will come out of this. I would rather be patient. A philosopher said time is a gentleman. In 2019, this guy will be removed so easily. I know the voting pattern in that part of the country, because that's where I've come from. I've seen Dino disgraced in an election, and I know that he will be disgraced again. The people of Kogi do not need this kind of funny arrangement. The governor has sent all his aides to their constituencies and gave them the mandate that, look, this is my battle. Make sure that this guy
and disbursed the money that is not. He has
I don't know about money that he disbursed. I don't know, but I also know that you cannot do some of these things without money. But I don't know whether Dino was right in saying so billion, because we all know that Dino is a very voluble fellow, so he can say anything. But the truth is, the wind has literally been taken out of the sail of that agenda. after Dino came into town to say, oh, he's persecuting me because I'm complaining that he's not paying salary. This same Dino, who is saying that Yahaya Bello, we must be ashamed of him, he should be ashamed of himself, in saying that Yahaya Bello was not known before the election. Everyone knew that, but he chose to support Yahaya Bello. He was like Yahaya Bello's agent in the election. Faleke was around all the while. Did he support Faleke? Now they fell apart. It's after they fell apart that he's given all those rhetorics.
Those hidden,
what we've always said on the program. Yes, that he didn't see the truth in all of that in the beginning. But what we are saying is, in spite of his later day realization that Governor Yahaya Bello is a curse on Kogi State, he too will be served the punishment that he deserves by being roundly rejected in 2019.
It's not looking good at all. It's not looking good, both from the state and the representative in the National Assembly.
Of course, I'm worried. I'm worried because of the ordinary people on the streets of Kogi. You know, because politicians, you know, they have a way of settling scores, and they will make sure that they make use of the ordinary people on the streets. People who are gullible. You know, they will be giving money, you know, to go and do some funny things, and at the end of the day, they are likely to be killed. I'm worried because I don't know why Dino Melayo took his protest, or whatever you want to call it, to the front gate of a polytechnic. Perhaps he was thinking that the
polytechnic was closed anyway.
He was thinking that maybe he will be able to get the support of the students who are still
they are
around.
not in session. They are not in session.
The
schools have been closed for almost 6 months. No tertiary institution is in session in Kogi State.
It's not a good development, because when you have a institution like this, you know, values will always erupt. Why not wait for the man during the next election? Because this one will not go anywhere, like DJ said. I don't see a situation whereby, because there is a requirement that must be met before you can say you recall someone. They can't meet it.
Even after all this, when they are through with the whole process, they will take the report and give to Bukola Saraki. So if he likes, Buki can just open his cabinet and put it there.
Right hand man.
He can frustrate, because this is one of his most trusted. This is ADC. He's one of his most trusted people. So you don't expect him. It will be frustrated. So it's a waste of time.
So they should look for other means of removing him. They should wait for the next election, because as long as they continue to do this, there will be violence, and when there is violence, there will be destruction of lives and property. You know, and that will not be good for a state whereby people are still finding it difficult to meet their daily needs. Their economic
power, more than 15
their economic power has been dwindled to the extent that, you know, a lot of civil servants, you know, they are now going about begging for food.
Pension, they are owing them 18 months.
Despite that, you still want to bring in violence.
Okay, I have Peter. Peter is calling us from Delta State. Thank you for joining us, Peter.
Yeah, good evening to Babajide and co in the studio there.
Good evening.
Yeah, I would like to, you know, disagree a little bit with what Babajide said, that he's not in support of the attempted recall of Senator Dino. I think he has a point there in saying that the process will fail, which we all know. But on the other hand, I think we should just give it a try. Because I think, to the best of my knowledge, something like this has never been done before. You know? So let's just give it a try. Let the people of Dino's constituency give it a try and see how far they can go with it. You know, let's just see how far it can go. At least that will...
Right.
Thank you. First of all, but when you look at it, maybe those people that actually drafted our constitution, the way they look, they did it, it's so cumbersome to implement the process of recall. Yeah,
it's just like the provision that was made in the constitution for impeachment. They actually made it a bit difficult for you to, so that frivolous people don't just come up with frivolous reasons for getting rid of people who have been duly elected. And I want to agree a bit with the caller. I think that we really need to test aspects of our constitution. It's not really important whether, because me, I'm speaking like a neutral, from looking like someone looking from the outside in. For me, I'm more concerned about the constitutional implications of what's going on in Kogi. Whether it succeeds or not is not important. But I think that we need to test our constitution in certain areas. And you know, politics is, people say politics is the art of the possible. So it's not even impossible that this could be pulled off. What are we talking about? You need 50% plus a little over 50% of the people on registered voters to get the petition to INEC. Pass the petition to INEC. Then thereafter they do a verification.
INEC will come and verify.
And then again 50% of, once you have 50% of those people who have signed the petition, the petition moves on to the next level, and then you now get to the point of having a referendum. And the referendum is simply a simple majority. I think that what you see here, Jide has talked about two people who they are like implacable fools. There is a fight to finish. And I believe that Dino is fighting for his political life. Yes. And the governor too is also, because Dino is a bruiser, he's a political bruiser, he will fight. He knows that they will never come together again. So they are both fighting, and at the end of the day, one person will be standing. So giving Dino a 2-year break, waiting until 2019, Dino knows that nobody's going to give him the ticket again in 2019. So the governor will want to make life as uncomfortable for him as possible. So for me, the constitutional aspects are more important than whether one side triumphs in this political battle.
Okay, Moshobalaje is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to quickly say this. You guys are doing a great work there. And I want to ask one question. Are we truly practicing democracy in Nigeria? Now, we have leaders that are there to represent we the citizens of this country. And they are there without defending our interests. Now look at what is going on in Kogi State when some institutions are on break. Now I don't think this is palatable for human hearing. And these are the people, they are jeopardizing with the future of the young of this country. So this thing is not good. And I don't think this will bring a bright future for we, the citizens of this country. That's just my contribution.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you, Moshobalaje. You just said it now that you don't have you have a situation whereby our institutions and critical sectors are grounded in Kogi State, and we are just looking at it from the face of it. But the real sense of it is that that state stands to lose so many things.
No, the Abelo is already a cost to the state. That is a fact. Nobody, you cannot, a governor that continues to take bailouts and is still owing as much as 15 months, still owing pensioners as much as 18 months.
The chief of staff said it's 12 months.
That is not 15.
That is not 15.
But there are people, you see, that's him saying it. But there are civil servants who will tell you that is lying.
Is it not even bad that you are saying it is not 15?
That's what Yoruba will say. Left and right. What is the difference? You must suffer seriously from a lack of shame to even come out to say no, it is not 15, it's actually 12. For me, I would not even be able to defend that kind of position, because whether it is 12 or 15 or 16,
it's a scandal.
It's a scandal for you to owe that much. Somebody was saying that our leaders pretend to be good Muslims, good Christians. But what they are doing, even the idea of favoring people from their own regions, that the holy books frown against such behaviors. Such aberrant behavior like not paying people their salaries for up to 15, 18 months, but you have money to spend on frivolities. You have money to offer whistleblowers who go and leak a secret that somebody was abusing him.
Or rumor.
Whistleblowing not about corruption, but about rumor mongering. Is what my own governor has set aside money for. It just shows you that it's not serious. And no real development can come to that state as long as it does not change. I want to see him change, because look, when Obasanjo was abusing young people the other day, he said, we tested young people with leadership, and they failed. At that time, people like Yabelo had not even gotten to office. Yabelo was probably still in Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission at that time. But we brought out a 40-year-old man. He had an opportunity to give himself immortality, but he has given himself immortality of the negative strain. is the negative strain of immortality that he has given himself. Because people will remember, and many people in Kogi, people are dying out of hunger. When people will remember that once upon a time there was a governor who ruled that state, and during his time, salaries were not paid regularly. In fact, payment salary was like an aberration.
Wahid, I want to just chip in that, and both of them, they belong to the All Progressive Congress, and they still have leaders.
Well, we have seen,
the leaders are not getting involved. The leaders are not chose not to get involved.
It's not the first time. We have also, it's like it has become a part of APC, you know, to be working at cross purposes. You know, we have it at the federal level. It's now being replicated at the state level now. You know, two people who are friends in the past, all of a sudden they just fell apart, and the center could not hold. But my fear is, like I said, is for the ordinary people on the streets of Kogi, because the politicians, they know how to take care of themselves. I'm very sure that their family members, their immediate family members, perhaps they are not even in the country, but they know how to instigate the masses.
Do you know Scar was fired at? But because
bulletproof, has a bulletproof car, nothing happened.
But somebody died.
Somebody died.
All right, moving on now. On Sunday, the Senate President Bukola Saraki said reports that more than 10 million children are out of school in Nigeria was not only alarming, but also a ticking time bomb. He lamented that Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children in the world, and the legislature was committed to doing all it can to address the issue through funding and material resources. He called for urgent attention by relevant stakeholders to address the menace. His intervention seemed timely and genuine, but it is questionable. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, first mentioned these ugly statistics in Bauchi State in 2015, 2 years after the Senate President had never mentioned it or made it a legislative discourse until Sunday, when the UNICEF received delegation led by its country representative, Mohamed Fali, not for the visit. He might never mention the ticking time bomb, maybe never. Are Nigerian politicians serious about anything at all? First, let me start from you now. 10 million out of school, and one thing about our statistics, at least one thing I've gotten, we are never accurate when it comes to statistics.
I was just going to say, are you sure it's not 20?
Okay.
I think that
Or
30. I think that it could be much more than this. Much more, because the bulk of the Nigerian population is younger.
Yes,
younger people.
because the last population census, more youths.
To some extent, he is right when he says it's a ticking time bomb. Because when you have these young people out of school, without education, unemployed, they provide the recruiting pool for people who are looking for potential Boko Haram recruiters, people who are kidnapping, or criminal elements inside. So, I think that what's important is not whether Saraki mentioned this or didn't mention it, but because it's something to resolve this kind of thing, you need a consensus among the political class that will address it at the federal level, at the executive level, at the legislature, at state level. So I think that is an indictment not only on the legislature, but it's an indictment of the president of the executive branch, an indictment of state governors. How much have they, I think it was Jide or someone who was mentioning that, look, we need to spend more money on education. How much are governments at different levels spending on education? What kind of special initiatives do they have to make sure that children are in school? As you were just speaking, I just remember that in the 80s, when Jakonde was governor, he did something revolutionary. He made sure that the bulk of children were in school.
That's why
the schools were not fancy; they were mostly shacks, but children were in school. In fact, you go to some kind of complex and you find like 3 or 4.
Education was free.
Exactly, but they were getting an education. Some of them were sitting on the floor, some were sitting on raggedy benches, but they were getting an education. So today most
of them are.
Exactly. So
people will never have had the opportunity.
Exactly. So if you look at state level, even if you take out the federal government, if all the states in this country were to have radical programs for getting their children into school, you will see that this figure will crash to well under 2 million.
I think the worst state is the north, because if you want
absolutely.
basic thing, at least in the South, there's high level of unemployment after going to school. Do you understand? The statistics will shoot up, you know, but not basic education, not having basic education.
Of course,
the Amajiri syndrome.
There's no doubt about it that the North is mostly affected by this syndrome. But you remember that under Jonathan administration, there was this provision for special Amajiri schools.
I don't
need
know
to find out what has happened
to those schools.
A state like Adamawa, you know, did complain that, you know, the school is expensive for them to maintain, to the extent that 2 years after the program took off, they were yet to recruit teachers because they said it requires.
Is it not meant to be funded by the federal government?
It requires a special teacher. I don't know whatever happened because, to the best of my knowledge, government is there should be continuity in government. You can't say because it was PDP that started it, then APC can no longer continue with it.
Drop the idea.
But you will be surprised that this is not only in the North, even in a state like Lagos. You know that there was some years back, maybe about 2 years ago or thereabout, there was this law that says any child that is of school age that is found on the street hawking, especially during the school hours, the parents, you know, will be punished according to the law. But you need to find out how many of those parents have they punished in Lagos State. If you come to a place like Acme Road, Ogba area, especially during the school hour, you see a lot of school children, spending in my area, hawking during school hour. We try to do a story on that about 2 years ago, and I was made to understand the fact that there are some women that are based in Lagos here. They bring in all these school children that are supposed to be in school. They bring them down to Lagos, child traffickers, telling their, you know, there is a way they convince the parents that, look, we are going to put them in school, but when they get here, you know, they start hawking. The majority of those children, they are from Benue State, because I've had cause to interact with a lot of them. They are from Benue State. You see them during school hours, and nobody is doing anything about it. These are the children. In the night, they have a place where they converge. You see them in large number, boys and girls, you know, as late as 10, they are still there, somewhere around that Acme Road. That's where they converge, and they do all manner of things there. So it's not about the North alone. Because like First O'Reilly said, you know, we need to put some of these laws to test. What is the essence of a law that has not been tested?
Okay, Jide, when you look at the Amajiri syndrome, is it more of like a tradition, or I don't understand? Because when you're talking about the most worrisome trend is the number of the out of school kids up north.
It's out of school kids. Yes, especially in the northeast and northwest, it's really frightening. But we are facing that problem in the south as well. Some parents can't pay WAEC fees, NECO fees, they can't even pay. At that point, the education of the child stops. We hear about states saying, oh, education is free up to maybe primary school level, at primary school level. But even where you say education is free, at that basic level, there are still hidden charges that parents are made to pay. And parents are struggling. Some of these children who hawk granite and all that, they are actually the ones who help put food on the table for their parents, you know, and their younger ones. So when parents are struggling to make ends meet, it will be difficult for us not to have this kind of situation. What government can do, and it is not impossible, is to invest more in education. A state like Katsina, for example, 22% of the budget under Aminu Bello Masari has been set aside for education. How many states in Nigeria are doing that?
22%.
22%.
Missing the United Nations.
Yes, and he intends to keep it like that, and even make it grow. When Sule Lamido was governor of Jigawa State, he created a situation whereby primary schools in Jigawa State had boarding facilities and the opportunity for those children to feed 3 times a day. That way, some of the burden will have been taken away from those parents because they want to feed their children at least normally. So, and he also made it compulsory for parents to enroll their children in schools. Otherwise, you go to jail. So, school enrollment figures went up. We need radical radical policies like that to boost school enrollment. Otherwise, if we continue to see these children and they must survive. If we continue to watch these children roam the streets, they will take to crime. They are the ones who will start turning guns against people in government, and even innocent people like us. They will be snatching our phones. On that Acme Road that you are talking about, they snatched my phone before. So we need to do something quickly, and the Almajiri schools have to be revived, so that these children can get quality education. Education should be a priority for Nigerian government. It has to be a priority.
I want to thank you, Festus Uriye, for making it on the show today. Wahid Bakare, thank you, and Babajide Kolabi Otitoju, thank you, and that's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can watch the pre-broadcast on DSTV 418 this evening by 11 p.m. on GoTV 45. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Ayodele Uzubakun. God bless Nigeria. Bye for now.